All right, let's talk about the Washington Redskins. Yes, they are the Washington Redskins. That is the football team that we will be discussing today. This is their logo. Now, we're going to be talking about the Washington Redskins for a very specific reason. The way to persuade someone, move someone away from their viewpoint closer to yours, is not to openly and overtly and directly disagree with them and challenge their perspective. Because our beliefs are growing together along with our senses of self and our opinions and our values. So if you challenge someone's beliefs, for example, the belief that redskin is a racist word, is an epithet, is a slur, which of course it's not. It refers to the red ochre paint that was used by Washington, D.C. area Native Americans, in the same way that there was a tribe called the Blackfeet because they used a black paint on their legs and on their feet. Obviously, it's the same issue here. And the fact that, well, we'll talk about the fact that in just a moment. But to challenge someone's beliefs and perspectives directly is a challenge a sense of self. All of those aspects of ourselves are rooted deep into our conscious mind. This is why when you imagine a garden, there are weeds in the garden growing amongst the tomatoes, the squash. This is kind of a problem because all of their roots are intermingled one with another. So if you go ripping out roots one at a time of the weeds, what's going to happen? You're probably going to damage the fruit and vegetables that you want to be growing in there, root vegetables. So what you must do instead is you must be smart. Now, you must be gentle. One way to do this is to be aware of linguistic anchors and use them strategically via embracing and amplifying. Embracing their linguistic anchors and amplifying them, chucking them overboard as much as you can. Now, you've been paying attention, so you know that a linguistic anchor is a term, it's a word, it's a series of words, it's a keyword that has a pre-existing and very specific meaning to the person you're talking to. The other day we were talking about reproductive rights and linguistic anchor. It is so dense with meaning, it sinks the conversation, and floating back up into the area of critical thought and higher consciousness is not possible at that point. And what I suggested is that you embrace those linguistic anchors and amplify them. So we talked the other day about abortion persuasion and how the right can win that issue forever so that a Democrat never wins another election again federally. Powerful stuff there. Now, in the case of the Washington Redskins and their name change, they have some interesting lessons to teach us about embracing and amplifying. Embracing and amplifying. Now, a perspective that they are probably not familiar with, those affluent white female liberals who are all about the name change of the Washington Redskins to the Washington Guardians, or was that the Cleveland Indians? They did the same thing, right? Same issue. It's all about, oh, it's a slur, Redskins, and blah, 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 blah. Well, most of them don't know the following. So what you can do is you're having a conversation about this. And this is why I bought the hat, by the way, so I can have this conversation with people who object to it, find it offensive, right? Notice how the affluent white female liberal and her ilk kind, they go right to being offended, feeling. There's no logic, there's no reason. And that's because it's not a matter of higher consciousness. What you're doing is you're talking to the subconscious mind. They're wearing it on their sleeve. Their beliefs, their opinions, their values, their sense of self are all tied in together. So to attack those directly is a personal attack. For you to say, I disagree with that, is like saying, I despise you as a human being and want to dehumanize you. Understand that that's what's happening when you directly attack a liberal with facts. With facts. They immediately go to that because it's tied up so intensely together. And the reason is there's nothing else for it to do. There's nothing else for those political opinions to latch onto besides feelings because they do not have facts, generally speaking, on their side. So it's always about emotions, it's always about feelings, and it's about you being a bad person, right? When you say something like, I'm going to vote for Donald J. Trump and J.D. Vance on November the 5th this year because I believe that they will make things better for people in this country. Powerful argument. Powerful. Real simple, too. Well, you're a sexist, racist bigot. You hate women. What? You want to take rights away from me. What? There's no counter. There's no, well, I believe Harris and Walz the policies are going to be better for this country, and here's why. A logical conversation is legitimately impossible to have with someone whose emotions associated with their self-concept, and an insecure self-concept at that, when there are not facts, when there is not good reason, when logic is not present, when their candidate either hides from interviews or bombs every interview she does so badly, each new interview is officially the worst interview a presidential candidate has ever given. And she keeps breaking her own record there. Not just personal records, but all world records of worst political candidate ever in pursuit of an office has ever given in public. And she keeps up in the ante. 60 Minutes was just caught the other day, or Face the Nation, rather. She did give a 60 Minutes interview, I believe, but she was also on Face the Nation. The interview was broadcasted live, and then CBS edited her answer to make her less of an idiot. So it was a question related to Israel-Palestine issue, and live answer was word salad. And then for the replay that was available online, they took an answer that she had given that sounded a little bit smarter earlier in the interview, and then they copied and then pasted that in as her answer. Wow. This is what they do every single time. Now, I wanted to talk about the linguistic anchor associated with the Redskins. So, you may not know that the Native American Guardians is an association that has been advocating for what they say, education, not erasure. They also say things like educate, not eradicate. I'm going to begin using the embrace and amplify technique. We're using left-wing associated terms. What we want to do is we want to show the weeds in the garden growing up with the fruit and the vegetables. I'm not a threat to you. I'm not gonna yank everything out at once. I'm not gonna destroy your identity. I'm not gonna destroy your fruit and vegetables by ripping out violently the roots of these political beliefs and opinions you have that have grown up together with your identity. Remember, there's not facts, there's not arguments, there's not reason. That's not a thing that happens when you're talking to the left, generally speaking. That sounds harsh. And yet this is my lived experience. Using left-wing term. Don't invalidate my lived experience. Embrace and amplify. Embrace and amplify. So using things like changing the name of the Washington Redskins, the logo of which was a proud Blackfeet chief who wanted his image to be used as the company or team logo, rather, for the Washington football team. His family was and still is in full support. Approximately 150,000 people have signed a petition because they support indigenous representation in the classic logo, the traditional logo of a chief whose family of this proud Blackfeet tribe wanted to have that in the National Football League. Overwhelming majority of Native Americans polled, surveyed, want the name to be changed back because they believe in indigenous representation in sports. Same as you look at other mascots, right? The Steelers, Steelworkers, right? The Steeler mascot is a little stereotypical and kind of goofy looking, but steel workers and union members are proud of that representation. It goes to show the same in Dallas with the Cowboys, the Washington Redskins. Redskin being a term referring to Native American warriors who painted their skin red with red ochre paint, and it was dark red. Hence, they looked like this when they went out and about. Bravery, battle, courage, honor, duty. That is what the Redskins name and logo stands for. And to erase all of that is to erase the indigenous experience once again from popular culture. See, now we're embracing, we're amplifying. And so the idea is that you agree. Yes, I value Native Americans and I value the indigenous experience in this country. And for that very reason, I am citing and I'm agreeing with the 85% of surveyed Native Americans who want the Redskins name to return, for the logo to be reset, and for this to be made right, because I believe in indigenous representation. I believe in education, not erasure. Educate, hashtag educate, not eradicate, right? We see this also with the Land O'Lakes logo being changed to remove the Native American woman, who was glad to be there, by the way. We see that also with the Uncle Ben and Aunt Jemima brands. The African American individuals were removed for those logos as well. Again, educate, not eradicate. So I'm using this because I gently want to remove the weeds, roots. I don't want to go in there like a leftist and start ripping everything out all at once. I don't want to do that. I want to be gentle. I want to be respectful. And we need to do that because if we're going to persuade anyone who is left of, think of the most moderate person you could think of, left of that person. If you want to persuade anyone to the left of that, we must do so gently. Because anytime you see a viral clip of a conservative debating a liberal, the conservative has just shared some interesting statistics and facts and data, and the liberal has lost their friggin' mind over it and engages in a manipulation technique called flooding. And flooding tends to be used by people with narcissistic personality disorder or borderline personality disorder in their personal relationships. And it's not gender specific, and it's not politically affiliated. It just is a tactic that is often used. And that is where they flood their reply with so many big emotions, negative emotions, that it floods the conversation. It wipes out all logic, all reason, all rapport. And that is the response to a triggered leftist who believes that their very identity and concept of humanity is under threat because you have a fact and they do not have a corresponding fact to rebut that. Every argument or debate with a leftist or liberal or progressive goes in that direction because they have no facts. All they have is identity and concept of self. And to threaten their opinions and their beliefs is to threaten their values and to threaten their sense of humanity, which is why they always accuse the right of dehumanizing them, when in fact it is their side. 30% of them, 30% Democrats, wish Thomas Matthew Crooks had not missed Donald J. Trump. Political violence in this country only ever goes one way, and that's against the right. It's against Trump supporters. Up until recently, it has been physically unsafe for a person to wear a MAGA hat in public, anywhere in the country. It's high risk, low reward. Think about that. We always see these signs of people tearing down, pooping on, literally, setting on fire Trump signs. We don't ever see that with Biden signs or Harris signs or anything of the like, Hillary signs. It's just not a thing that happens. And in the very rare edge case that it does, it's all we ever hear about. So if you're going to persuade someone who does not possess the ability to engage in logic because they don't have it, because their identity is so tied into and grown up with their feelings, their values, persuade them gently. It's the best you can do. And the way to do that is to do a little Redskins persuasion where you embrace and amplify.